How does it feel to be handed a divorce petition with your full name in bold, all because of one trip, one soulmate, and one laugh too many at your husband's expense? Can you call it freedom when the only answer you get is an envelope and a look so calm it feels like goodbye? What happens when the only person who remembers your story is the one erasing you from his? The Barcelona hotel bar buzzed with conference energy as I nursed my third glass of Rioja. The HR symposium had been mind-numbing, but this moment felt electric. Across from me sat Jasper Marin, his dark eyes reflecting the amber lighting as he leaned closer. "You know what your problem is, Ivadne?" Jasper's accent made my name sound exotic. "You're too beautiful to be so serious all the time." I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in months. "My husband would disagree. Caleb thinks I'm plenty serious enough." "Your husband sounds boring." Jasper's fingers brushed mine across the small table. "When was the last time he made you feel alive?" The question hit deeper than it should have. When was the last time Caleb had looked at me like I was fascinating? When had we last talked about anything beyond grocery lists and Daniel's soccer schedule? "It's complicated," I said, but even as the words left my mouth, I was leaning closer to Jasper. "Life doesn't have to be complicated." His thumb traced across my knuckles. "Sometimes we just need permission to feel again." 3 days later, I was on a plane back to Chicago, Jasper's number saved in my phone, under conference contact, and a story rehearsed in my head. The symposium had been educational. I'd networked extensively. I was excited to implement new strategies at work. None of it mentioned the way Jasper had kissed me in the hotel elevator, or how we'd spent our last night walking through Park Güell until sunrise, talking about dreams and possibilities, and everything my marriage had stopped being. Caleb picked me up at O'Hare, his teacher's cardigan wrinkled from the school day. "How was Spain?" he asked, loading my suitcase into our Honda Civic. "Productive," I said, scrolling through my phone as we pulled into traffic. Jasper had already texted, "Missing those Barcelona nights. When can we talk?" I smiled at the screen. "What's funny?" Caleb glanced over. "Just work stuff. You know how it is." I tucked the phone away. "How's Daniel?" "Good. He missed you, made you a drawing of the Sagrada Familia. Looked it up online after you left." Guilt twisted in my stomach, but Jasper's words echoed, "Life doesn't have to be complicated." That evening, as Caleb graded papers at the kitchen table and Daniel played video games upstairs, I stood at our bedroom window, looking out at our perfectly manicured suburban street. Every house looked the same. Every life looked predictable. My phone buzzed. "Jasper again. Can't stop thinking about you. This feels like destiny." Destiny. When was the last time anything in my life had felt like destiny? I typed back, "I know what you mean." "When can I see you again?" I stared at the message for a long moment. Downstairs, I could hear Caleb explaining fractions to Daniel, his patient teacher voice carrying through the house. The same voice that had been growing more distant, more routine, for months. "I need some space to figure things out," I typed. "This is all new for me." "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." The next morning over coffee, I broached the subject with Caleb. "I've been thinking about our conversation before I left, about how we've been feeling disconnected." Caleb looked up from his lesson plans. "I thought the trip might help clear your head." "It did, actually. I think I need some space to figure out what I want, what we both want." "Space?" His pen stopped moving. "Not a separation, just breathing room. Maybe I could stay at Lynn's for a few days next week. Give us both time to think." Caleb was quiet for a long moment. "If that's what you need." "It's what we need," I corrected. "We've been going through the motions, Caleb. We both know it." He nodded slowly, but something in his expression made me look away. "Okay, if you think it will help." Later that day, I called my mother. Roxana Volpe had never been one for subtlety. "About time you started living a little," she said when I explained my need for space. You're 33, Ivadne. You can't spend your whole life playing house in the suburbs. It's not about playing house, Mom. It's about figuring out what makes me happy. Good. Happiness is important. Too many women your age settle for comfortable. That weekend, as I packed a bag for Lynn's, my phone kept lighting up with messages from Jasper. Photos of Barcelona, memories from our time together, plans for when we could meet again. You're glowing, Lynn observed when I arrived at her downtown apartment Sunday evening. Spain was good for you. It was exactly what I needed, I said, and for the first time in months, I felt like I was telling the complete truth. 3 weeks into my break, I was practically living a double life. Days at the office, evenings at Lynn's apartment, and stolen hours with Jasper whenever he was in Chicago for business. The routine felt intoxicating. You look different, my colleague Sarah mentioned during our Monday morning meeting. Happier. The break is working for you. I smiled, thinking of the weekend Jasper and I had spent exploring Navy Pier like tourists. Sometimes you need to step back to see clearly. What I didn't mention was how alive I felt when Jasper looked at me, or how he made everything feel like an adventure. Even something as simple as coffee became electric when he was involved. Your husband must be missing you, Sarah continued. We're both figuring things out, I said diplomatically. It's healthy. That afternoon, Jasper texted, Dinner tonight? I found this amazing tapas place. Very Barcelona. I was typing yes when my phone rang. Caleb. Hey, I answered, stepping away from my desk. What's up? Daniel's school play is Thursday. I wanted to make sure you could make it. Of course, I wouldn't miss it. Good. He's been asking when you're coming home. The word home sat strangely. Lynn's couch had started feeling more natural than our suburban bedroom. Soon, we agreed to take this slow. Right, slow. There was something in Caleb's voice I couldn't place. I'll see you Thursday then. After he hung up, I stared at my phone. Jasper's text was still waiting for an answer. Thursday's school play was a disaster. Not Daniel's performance. He was perfect as a tree in the environmental awareness production. The disaster was my inability to focus on anything except Jasper's messages. Mom, did you see my solo? Daniel bounced over after the show. You were amazing, sweetheart. I hugged him, trying to ignore another buzz from my phone. Dad said you're staying at Aunt Lynn's to think about grown-up stuff. Something like that. Caleb appeared beside us, shaking hands with other parents. Great job tonight, buddy. Ice cream? Can Mum come? Daniel looked between us hopefully. Of course, Caleb said, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. At the ice cream parlor, while Daniel excitedly recounted every moment of the play, I found myself photographing my Sunday. Before I could think twice, I'd posted it to Instagram with the caption, Sweet moments with my favorite tree, Dao, proud mom, Dawn new beginnings. Within minutes, Jasper had liked and commented, Beautiful as always, miss you. I felt a thrill at his public affection, but when I looked up, Caleb was staring at my phone. Friend from the conference, I said quickly. Jasper Marine, Caleb read the username. He seems enthusiastic. He's just friendly, European thing. Daniel was oblivious, focused on his chocolate chip creation, but the tension between Caleb and me was thick enough to cut. The following weekend, emboldened by wine and Jasper's constant encouragement, I made a decision that would change everything. We were at a trendy rooftop bar in River North, the city sparkling below us. You're incredible, Jasper murmured, pulling me closer for a selfie. I want the world to know how lucky I am. The photo was perfect, me laughing, him gazing at me adoringly, the Chicago skyline behind us. I posted it immediately. Living my best life. Sometimes the universe sends exactly what you need. Nyan grateful true new chapter 2 Soulmate. The response was immediate. Likes, comments, shares. Friends from high school, colleagues, family members all weighing in. Most were supportive, but a few made me pause. Is this why you needed space? Commented Jennifer Walsh, a mutual friend of Caleb's and mine. Where's Caleb? Asked my cousin Michelle. But it was my sister Lynn's private message that made my stomach drop. Evadne, what are you doing? People are talking. I was crafting a response when my phone rang. Caleb. We need to talk, he said without preamble. I'm out with friends. I can see that. Come home. Now. You can't order me around, Caleb. We're taking a break, remember? This isn't a break, Evadne. This is humiliation. My colleagues saw your post. Daniel's friend's parents saw your post. Come home. The line went dead. Jasper was watching me with concern. Everything okay? He's being dramatic, I said, but my hands were shaking slightly. He needs to learn that I'm not his property. You're absolutely right, Jasper agreed, signaling for another round. He's lucky to have you at all. If he can't appreciate what he has... Exactly. I raised my glass. To new beginnings. But even as we toasted, I couldn't shake the image of Daniel asking where his mum was, or the hurt in Caleb's voice when he'd seen Jasper's comment. I pushed the thoughts away. I deserved happiness. I deserved to feel alive. The universe had sent me exactly what I needed. Monday morning brought consequences I hadn't anticipated. My supervisor, Margaret Chen, called me into her office before I'd even finished my coffee. Evadne, we need to discuss your social media presence. My stomach dropped. I'm sorry. Several employees have brought concerns to my attention regarding your recent posts. While we don't typically monitor personal accounts when content begins affecting workplace dynamics, I don't understand. I haven't posted anything inappropriate. Margaret turned her computer screen toward me. There was my Instagram feed, screenshots of the rooftop bar photos and comments clearly visible. The issue isn't appropriateness, it's professionalism. You're going through what appears to be a marital situation very publicly, and it's become office gossip. Some employees feel uncomfortable. Heat flooded my face. My personal life is my personal life. Not when it's broadcast to colleagues and clients. I'm not asking you to change your personal choices, but I am asking you to consider how your online presence reflects on this department. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but Margaret's expression was final. I understand, I said quietly. Good. Let's keep things professional moving forward. I spent the rest of the day avoiding eye contact with colleagues, hyper-aware of every whispered conversation. During lunch, I called Jasper. They're just jealous, he assured me. You're living authentically while they're stuck in their boring routines. Don't let them dim your light. It's affecting my job, Jasper. So, you're talented. You could work anywhere. Don't let fear hold you back. His confidence was infectious, but doubt gnawed at me. That evening at Lynn's apartment, my sister was less supportive. You need to be careful, she said, setting down her tea with deliberate calm. I love you, but this is getting out of hand. What's getting out of hand? I'm finally happy. You're married, Evadne. You have a 7-year-old son, and you're posting photos with another man like you're single. Caleb and I are taking a break. I've been honest about that. Have you? Because from the outside, it looks like you're having an affair and humiliating your husband publicly. That's not what this is. But even as I said it, I felt uncertain. What is it then? Because Caleb called me yesterday. He's devastated, and Daniel keeps asking when you're coming home. Guilt twisted in my chest. I never meant to hurt anyone. But you are hurting people, and now it's affecting your job too. Maybe it's time to step back and really think about what you want. That night, I couldn't sleep. I scrolled through my social media, seeing my recent posts through fresh eyes. The comments from Jasper were flirtatious, obvious. The photos were intimate in a way that crossed lines I hadn't acknowledged. But when Jasper texted at midnight, thinking of you, beautiful, can't wait to see you tomorrow, the doubts faded. He made me feel desired, appreciated, alive. Wasn't I allowed to feel those things? Wednesday brought a family dinner I couldn't avoid. Caleb's parents had invited us to their weekly gathering, and missing it would raise questions I wasn't ready to answer. I arrived separately, finding the Hartley family already assembled in Eleanor and Richard's familiar dining room. The conversation stopped when I walked in. "Evadne," Eleanor embraced me warmly. "It's so good to see you, dear. How are you feeling?" "Much better, thank you. The time away has been helpful." Caleb's sister Lydia looked up from her salad. "I saw your Instagram posts. You look like you're having fun." The comment hung in the air like a challenge. Caleb focused on cutting Daniel's chicken, his jaw tight. "I've been exploring the city more," I said carefully. "It's been nice to try new places." "With new people," Lydia added pointedly. "Lydia," Eleanor warned. "What?" "I'm just saying she looks happy. Very happy. Glowing even." Richard cleared his throat. "How's work going, Evadne?" "Fine. Busy. The usual." "That's good. Important to stay focused on responsibilities." The word responsibilities felt weighted. I glanced around the table, at Daniel chattering about school, at Caleb's careful neutrality, at the family that had welcomed me for 8 years and now felt like they were studying me. "I should probably head back soon," I said after dessert. "Early morning tomorrow." "Already?" Daniel's face fell. "But you just got here." "I know, sweetie, but I'll see you again soon." "When are you coming home?" he asked, the question I'd been dreading. "Soon," I said, not looking at Caleb. "Very soon." In the parking lot, Lydia caught up with me. "I don't know what game you're playing," she said without preamble, "but my brother doesn't deserve this." "It's not a game. Marriage is complicated." "Bullshit. Marriage is work. What you're doing is selfish." "You don't understand the situation." "I understand enough. I understand that you're parading around with some guy while your husband takes care of your son and pretends everything's fine. I understand that you're making a fool of yourself online and embarrassing our family." Anger flared. "Your family? I'm part of this family too." "Are you?" "Because it doesn't look like it from where I'm standing." I drove back to Lynn's in tears, Lydia's words echoing in my head. But when I found a text from Jasper waiting, "Hope you're having a good evening, gorgeous. You deserve all the happiness in the world," I felt better. He was right. I did deserve happiness. I just hadn't expected it to cost so much. The change in Caleb was subtle at first. Where he'd once called daily to check in, now days passed in silence. When I picked up Daniel for his soccer game Saturday morning, Caleb was polite but distant, like I was a neighbor he barely knew. "How's school going?" I asked as we drove to the field. "Good. Dad's been helping me with my science project. We're building a volcano." "That sounds fun. What kind of volcano?" "A composite one. Dad knows all about them. He's really smart." The admiration in Daniel's voice stung. When had he started seeing Caleb as the reliable parent? "I'm smart too, you know," I said, immediately regretting how petty it sounded. "I know, Mom, but Dad's been here." After the game, I returned Daniel to the house that used to be mine. Caleb was in his study. The door cracked open. I glimpsed him at his computer, several manila folders spread across the desk. "Working on lesson plans?" I asked from the doorway. He looked up, quickly minimizing whatever was on his screen. "Something like that." "It's Saturday. You should relax." "I'll relax when things are settled." There was something in his tone that made me step closer. "What kind of things?" "Nothing for you to worry about." He closed the folders. "Did Daniel have fun at the game?" The deflection felt deliberate. "Caleb, are we okay? I mean, I know we're taking time, but you seem different." "I'm fine, Evadne, just focused on what needs to be done." That evening, I mentioned the interaction to Jasper over dinner at an upscale steakhouse downtown. "He's probably just processing," Jasper said, cutting into his ribeye. "Some men need time to accept change." It felt like more than that, like he was hiding something. Maybe he's finally realizing what he lost. Could be he's planning some grand gesture to win you back. The idea should have bothered me, but instead I felt a small thrill. You think so? Absolutely. Look at you. Jasper reached across the table to touch my hand. You're incredible. Any man would fight for you. I posted a photo of our joined hands on the white tablecloth, wine glasses glinting in the candlelight. Perfect evening with someone who appreciates life's beautiful moments. Josh grateful, ours living my best life. The likes came quickly, but so did a comment from Jennifer Walsh. Evadne, people are talking. This isn't fair to Caleb. I deleted the comment and blocked Jennifer. I was tired of people who couldn't understand what real happiness looked like. Monday brought an unexpected visit from Lynn at my office. We need to talk, she said, closing my office door behind her. If this is about the Instagram thing, it's not about Instagram. It's about reality. Lynn sat down across from my desk. Caleb called me yesterday. My stomach tightened. What did he say? He wanted to know if you'd mentioned anything about making the separation permanent, if you talked about divorce. Divorce? The word felt foreign. We're just taking a break. Are you? Because from where he's sitting, you've moved out, you're dating someone else, and you're broadcasting it to the world. What would you call that? I call it figuring out what I want. And what do you want, Evadne? Really? I thought of Jasper's laugh, the way he made everything feel exciting and new. I want to feel alive. I want passion. I want someone who sees me as more than just a wife and mother. And Caleb doesn't? When was the last time Caleb surprised me? When was the last time he looked at me like I was fascinating instead of familiar? Lynn was quiet for a moment. When was the last time you looked at him that way? The question caught me off guard. That's different. Is it? Marriage isn't a performance, Evadne. It's a partnership. And partnerships require work from both people. I did work. I worked for 8 years, and I was disappearing. So you decided to blow everything up instead of having a conversation. We tried conversations. They didn't work. Lynn studied me carefully. I think you should know that Caleb seems different, calmer, like he's made some kind of decision. What kind of decision? I don't know, but he asked me about custody arrangements. Hypothetically. The word custody hit me like ice water. He wouldn't. Wouldn't what? Protect his interests? Protect Daniel? You've been gone for a month, Evadne. You're living with another man in everything but name. What did you think would happen? That evening, I tried calling Caleb, but it went straight to voicemail. I drove to the house, but his car wasn't in the driveway. Daniel was at Eleanor and Richard's for dinner, according to the note on the door. I used my key to go inside, telling myself I had every right. The house felt different, quieter. In Caleb's study, the desk was clear except for his laptop and a single legal pad covered in his careful handwriting. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. The notes were methodical, dated, organized, times I'd been out, photos I'd posted, comments from Jasper, screenshots of social media interactions, a timeline of our separation that read more like evidence than memories. At the bottom of the page, in Caleb's neat script, consultation scheduled, Tuesday 2 p.m. My hands shook as I photographed the page with my phone, then carefully replaced everything exactly as I'd found it. Driving back to Lynn's, I felt panic rising in my chest. Caleb was planning something, and I had no idea what. But the careful documentation, the legal terminology scattered through his notes, the consultation appointment, it all pointed towards something I wasn't ready to face. I called Jasper as soon as I was safely in Lynn's guest room. He's gathering evidence, I said without preamble, like I'm some kind of criminal. Evidence of what? I don't know. Our separation, my social media posts, you. Hey, breathe. Even if he is planning something legal, you haven't done anything wrong. You asked for space, he agreed. You're not living together. You're technically free to see whoever you want. But the way he's documenting everything, it feels calculated. So be smarter. If he wants to play games, play better games. What do you mean? I mean, stop letting him control the narrative. You're not the villain here. You're a woman who realized she deserved better and had the courage to pursue it. Own that story. After we hung up, I stared at my phone for a long time. Jasper was right. I wasn't the villain. I was the woman brave enough to choose happiness over settling. But looking at the photo of Caleb's notes, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd underestimated my quiet, methodical husband, and that might have been my biggest mistake yet. Sunday lunch at the Hartley house felt like walking into a courtroom. Eleanor had set the table with her good china, but the atmosphere was anything but celebratory. I arrived 20 minutes late, having spent the morning with Jasper at a farmer's market in Lincoln Park. "Sorry I'm late," I said, sliding into my usual seat next to Daniel. "Traffic was terrible." "Where were you coming from?" Lydia asked innocently. "I thought you were staying at Lynn's in Wicker Park. That's only 15 minutes away." Heat crept up my neck. I had errands to run first. Caleb passed the potatoes without making eye contact. He'd been doing that a lot lately, treating me like a polite stranger rather than his wife. "How are things at work, dear?" Eleanor asked, clearly trying to steer the conversation to safer ground. "Fine. Busy season, you know how it is." "I saw on Facebook that your company won some kind of award," Richard added. "That's nice." "Yes, it was a team effort." I pulled out my phone to show them the article, but Daniel grabbed my attention first. "Mum, look what I drew." He held up a crayon picture of our family, stick figures standing in front of a house. But something was wrong with the picture. There were only two figures, him and Caleb. "Where am I in the picture, sweetie?" Daniel looked confused. "You don't live with us anymore." The table went silent. Eleanor's fork clinked against her plate as she set it down. "I'm just staying at Aunt Lynn's for a little while," I said carefully. "We talked about this." "But you're always with Jasper now," Daniel said matter-of-factly. "Dad showed me your pictures online." My eyes snapped to Caleb, who was calmly cutting his roast beef. "You showed him my social media." "He asked where you were. Kids at school were talking." "Kids at school?" My voice pitched higher. "Their parents follow you on Instagram," Lydia said flatly. "Amazing how small the world gets when you make your business public." "My business is my business." "Not when it affects Daniel." Richard's voice was quiet but firm. "Not when it embarrasses this family." "Embarrasses?" I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood. "I'm not embarrassing anyone. I'm living my life." "You're married," Lydia shot back. "Or did you forget that detail while you were playing house with your Spanish boyfriend?" "We're separated." "Are you divorced?" Richard's question cut through my anger. "No, but..." "Then you're married. And married people don't parade around with other men like they're teenagers." "Dad," Caleb said quietly, "let's not do this here." "When then?" Richard turned to his son. "When are we going to acknowledge what's happening? When are we going to stop pretending this is normal?" I looked around the table. At Eleanor's worried face, at Lydia's obvious disgust, at Daniel's confusion, at Caleb's careful neutrality. They'd already made their choice. I was the outsider now. "I don't have to listen to this," I said, grabbing my purse. "Mum, where are you going?" Daniel's voice was small. "I'll call you later, sweetheart." "No," Caleb said, standing. "You'll call me first. We need to establish some ground rules." "Ground rules?" "About Daniel, about visits, about how this is going to work going forward." The finality in his voice stopped me cold. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying things can't continue the way they have been. It's not fair to anyone, especially Daniel." I wanted to argue, to fight back, but the weight of their collective judgment was suffocating. I left without another word. That evening, I met Jasper at his apartment in River North. The space was modern, minimalist, everything our suburban house wasn't. He poured wine while I ranted about the lunch. "They're trying to control you," he said, handing me a glass, "making you feel guilty for choosing happiness." Maybe they have a point about Daniel. He seemed confused. "Kids are resilient. He'll adjust. The important thing is that you're modeling authentic living for him, showing him that people don't have to settle for mediocrity. Is that what I was doing? Settling? Look around. Jasper gestured to his sleek living room, the city view through floor-to-ceiling windows. Look at who you are when you're with me. You're vibrant, confident, alive. Was that the woman living in suburban purgatory with a man who took you for granted? He was right. I did feel different with him, more myself somehow. I love you, he said suddenly. I know it's complicated, but I love you, and I think you love me too. The words hung between us, heavy with possibility. Did I love him? I loved how he made me feel. I loved the excitement, the passion, the sense of adventure. I think I do, I whispered. He kissed me then, and I let myself get lost in the moment. When he suggested taking a photo together, I want to remember this exact moment. I didn't hesitate. The picture was intimate, romantic. We were curled together on his couch, the city sparkling behind us, looking at each other like we were the only two people in the world. I posted it immediately. When you know, on true love, now no regrets, are now soulmate, and new beginnings. The response was immediate and explosive. Likes, comments, shares. But this time, the comments weren't all supportive. This is disgusting, wrote someone from high school. You have a husband and child. Poor Caleb, added a former colleague. He deserves better. Shame on you, commented someone I didn't even recognize. But there were supporters too. You go, girl. Live your truth. You deserve happiness. I was reading through them when my phone rang. Lynn. What the hell are you doing? She said without preamble. I'm being honest about my feelings. You're being reckless. Do you have any idea how this looks? I don't care how it looks. I care how it feels. Well, you better start caring how it looks because Caleb just called. He's filing for divorce. Tomorrow. The words hit me like a physical blow. He can't do that. He can, and he is. And after that post tonight, I don't blame him. Lynn, you're supposed to be on my side. I am on your side. That's why I'm telling you to stop this before you lose everything. But it was too late. Even as we spoke, I could see the notifications piling up on my phone. The post was being shared, commented on, dissected by people who didn't even know me. And somewhere across the city, in the house that used to be mine, Caleb was probably seeing it too. I'd wanted to control the narrative, to own my story. I just hadn't realized that stories, once told, take on lives of their own. Monday morning arrived with an envelope slipped under Lynn's apartment door. My name was typed across expensive legal stationery in bold black letters, Evadne Marie Hartley. Inside were divorce papers, meticulously prepared, every detail documented with the precision I should have expected from a man who spent his days teaching teenagers the importance of following instructions. Irreconcilable differences was listed as the reason, but attached were 37 pages of evidence that told a different story, screenshots of every social media post I'd made since Barcelona, credit card receipts from restaurants I'd visited with Jasper, hotel confirmations, a timeline of my absences from the family home, text message logs obtained through our shared phone plan. My hands shook as I read through it all. Caleb had been documenting everything, building a case with the methodical patience of someone who understood that preparation mattered more than passion. The custody arrangement he was proposing was generous, joint custody, with Daniel's primary residence remaining at the family home to maintain stability during this transition period. But the financial settlement was stark. I would receive exactly what I was legally entitled to and nothing more. At the bottom of the packet was a handwritten note in Caleb's careful script. I'll be at the house today at 3 p.m. if you want to discuss this in person. If not, please have your attorney contact mine by Friday. C. I called in sick to work and spent the morning in a panic, calling every divorce attorney in Chicago. The consultations were brief and discouraging. Based on these documents, your husband has built a solid case, the third lawyer told me. The social media evidence particularly doesn't look good. It suggests you've been in a relationship while still married and cohabitating with your spouse. Technically. But we were separated. Separated but not legally separated. There's a difference. And the public nature of your relationship with Mr. Marine suggests a level of indiscretion that family court judges don't typically view favorably. By 2:30 p.m., I was sitting in my car outside the house I'd shared with Caleb for 6 years, working up the courage to go inside. His Honda was in the driveway next to a car I didn't recognize, a black BMW with lawyer plates. I found them in the dining room. Caleb, a woman in an expensive suit, and all my evidence spread across the table like a prosecution exhibit. Evadne, Caleb stood when I entered. This is Patricia Morrison, my attorney. Mrs. Hartley. Patricia's handshake was firm, professional. I understand you've had a chance to review the documents. This is insane, I said, looking between them. Caleb, we can work this out. We don't need lawyers. We tried working it out, Caleb said quietly. You asked for space. I gave you space. You asked for understanding. I tried to understand, but this... He gestured to a printed screenshot of my latest Instagram post. This isn't working anything out. This is humiliation. I never meant to humiliate you. You posted a picture of yourself with another man, calling him your soulmate while you're still married to me. What would you call that? I call it being honest about my feelings. Patricia cleared her throat. Mrs. Hartley, my client is prepared to be very reasonable in this divorce. The settlement offer is fair, the custody arrangement is generous, and we're not seeking any punitive measures despite the circumstances. Punitive measures? Adultery can affect asset distribution in Illinois, Patricia explained, but Mr. Hartley isn't interested in punishment. He just wants to move forward. I looked at Caleb, searching for some sign of the man who'd once loved me enough to propose in the rain outside Wrigley Field. But his expression was calm, resolved, final. Where's Daniel? I asked. At my parents'. I thought it would be better if he wasn't here for this. You're really going to do this? Break up our family over some photos? I'm not breaking up our family, Evadne. You did that when you decided Jasper Marin was your soulmate. The words hit like a slap. You don't understand what it's been like. How lonely I've been. Lonely? For the first time, emotion cracked through Caleb's composure. You were lonely? I've been trying to save our marriage for 2 years while you checked out completely. I've been taking care of Daniel, managing the house, dealing with your mother's comments about how I'm not good enough for you, and watching you slowly disappear into your phone, and your dissatisfaction and your certainty that the problem was me. That's not. It is true. And when you finally told me you needed space, I gave it to you. Even when it killed me. Even when Daniel cried himself to sleep asking when Mommy was coming home. I gave you space because I thought maybe you'd figure out that what we had was worth fighting for. Tears were streaming down my face now. I did fight for it. I tried to find myself again. You tried to find yourself in another man's bed. The accusation hung in the air between us. I wanted to deny it, but the evidence was spread across our dining room table. The photos, the posts, the timeline that made everything look exactly as sordid as it was. I want you to be happy, Caleb continued, his voice gentler now. I really do, but I won't be humiliated anymore, and I won't let Daniel grow up thinking this is what marriage looks like. Patricia slid a pen across the table. The papers can be filed today if you're ready to sign. We can have this finalized in 60 days with minimal court involvement. I stared at the pen, at the papers, at the man I'd been married to for 8 years. What if I said no? What if I fought this? Then we go to court, Patricia said matter-of-factly. And all of this becomes public record. The social media posts, the timeline, the evidence of your relationship with Mr. Marine. Is that really what you want? My phone buzzed with a text from Jasper. How's it going, beautiful? Can't wait to celebrate your freedom tonight. The message felt obscene in the context of this room, this moment, this ending. I need time to think, I said. Of course, Caleb nodded. You have until Friday. As I gathered my purse to leave, he called my name. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I hope Jasper makes you happy. I hope all of this was worth it. That evening, I sat in Jasper's apartment, the divorce papers spread across his glass coffee table. He poured champagne and toasted new beginnings, but I couldn't shake the image of Caleb's face when he'd said he hoped it was worth it. You're free now, Jasper said, pulling me close. We can be together without all the drama and complications. I'm not free yet. I haven't signed anything. But you will, right? I mean, what's the alternative? Going back to suburban mediocrity? I looked around his perfect apartment, at the man who'd promised me passion and adventure and a life worth living. 3 months ago, this had felt like destiny. Tonight, it felt like the most expensive mistake I'd ever made. Right, I said, raising my glass, to new beginnings. But even as I said the words, I wondered if some endings cost more than any new beginning could ever be worth. 3 days later, I signed the papers. 60 days after that, I was officially divorced. Jasper celebrated by taking me to Paris for a long weekend. We posted photos from the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, romantic cafes in Montmartre. The trip was everything I'd dreamed of, passionate, spontaneous, Instagram perfect. But when we returned to Chicago, reality was waiting. Daniel's school play, soccer games, parent-teacher conferences, all the rhythms of family life continued without me. Caleb had seamlessly stepped into the role of primary parent, and Daniel was thriving in the stability. My job performance had suffered during the divorce proceedings. Margaret made it clear that my position was under review pending improvement in my professional focus, and Jasper, freed from the excitement of forbidden romance, began to seem restless. He traveled more for work, posted photos from conferences and business dinners with beautiful colleagues. When I commented on his posts, he didn't always respond. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I was sitting alone in Lynn's apartment. Jasper had suggested I keep staying there until we figure out our next steps. When my phone buzzed with a notification. Caleb had posted a photo on Instagram. He rarely used social media, so I was curious. The image was simple. Him and Daniel at a Cubs game, both wearing matching jerseys and enormous grins. The caption read, "Perfect afternoon with my favorite person. Sometimes the best adventures are the quiet ones." Grateful Dad, or Simple Joys. The photo had dozens of likes and comments from friends, family, colleagues, parents from Daniel's school. Everyone celebrating this glimpse into their peaceful, happy life. A life I'd walked away from in search of something better. I scrolled through the comments, seeing names I recognized from our old social circle. People who'd once been our friends were now just his friends. People who'd watched our marriage implode from the front row of social media. Jennifer Walsh had commented, "You're an amazing dad, Caleb. Daniel is lucky to have you." Lydia had added, "My nephew has the best role model." Even my own sister Lynn had liked the post. I started to comment, then stopped. What would I say? That I missed them? That I was proud of Daniel? That I was sorry for everything? Instead, I closed the app and called Jasper. It went straight to voicemail. "Hey, it's me," I said to the recording. "Just wanted to see what you're up to tonight. Call me back." He didn't call back that night, or the next day. When he finally responded, it was with a text. "Crazy busy with work. Rain check." I stared at the message, recognizing something familiar in its casual dismissal. The same tone I'd probably used with Caleb 100 times when I was too distracted by my phone, my dissatisfaction, my certainty that something better was waiting just out of reach. That weekend, I drove past my old house. Caleb's car was in the driveway, along with several others, Eleanor and Richard's sedan, Lydia's Jeep, Through the window, I could see people moving around the kitchen, the warm glow of family dinner in progress. I sat in my car across the street, watching the life I'd abandoned continue without me. Daniel ran through the living room, chasing what looked like a new puppy. Caleb appeared in the window, laughing at something someone had said. They looked happy, genuinely, quietly, sustainably happy. My phone buzzed. A text from Jasper. Going to be traveling a lot the next few weeks. Let's touch base when things calm down. I read the message 3 times before I understood what it really meant. Jasper was pulling away, just like I had pulled away from Caleb. The excitement was fading, the novelty wearing off. I was becoming familiar, routine, something to be managed rather than pursued. The irony was devastating. I'd destroyed my marriage for a man who was now losing interest in me, the same way I'd lost interest in my husband. I'd traded a life of quiet stability for passionate uncertainty, and now I was discovering that uncertainty cuts both ways. As I drove back to Lynn's apartment, back to my temporary life in someone else's space, I finally understood what Caleb had meant when he said he hoped it was worth it. It wasn't. None of it was worth what I'd lost. But by the time I realized that, there was nothing left to save except the lesson itself. That some mistakes can't be undone, some words can't be taken back, and some choices echo forever. The divorce papers had made it official, but I'd been erasing myself long before Caleb ever picked up a pen.